So I have this character, not this character. This is just a random dude from my story. He's not a random dude. He's important, but he is not the character I'm talking about. But I don't really have a drawing of this character at the moment, so I'm just gonna replace it with this picture. So I have a character in the moment that is so awful that I look at myself and be like, is there a devil sleeping inside me? You know, like, um, basically, I don't want to get into too many details because I don't want to spoiler you. Maybe one day you want to read my story, I don't know. But that can still uh, last, like, that still can, like, somewhere in the future, but not at the moment. Oh my gosh, it's not. Yeah, okay. So the thing is that this character basically is taking everything out of context and says stuff to people that is really annoying and really mean, but the things she says are things that are in the right context, can be true and important, can be actual facts. But because she takes stuff out of context, she has this position that all those things she says are basically mean, you know? So she's basically a social justice warrior. And no, I don't like woke people. Don't get me wrong. This is not like a story about a social justice warrior because I think it's cool. No, not at all. It's the opposite. I'm making fun about this whole thing. And I look at myself and I'm like, how do I come up with this stuff? And the thing is, it's so easy for me to write a character like this, and I'm scared of myself. I'm like, why? I know, like, everything about her, I fucking hate. I'm sorry. Ah. And the other thing is, but I have to keep going, you know, like, I don't want to stop. And it's weird because my story was really heartwarming at the beginning, and now it became this really dark, even a little bit political stuff. And I know this is another topic I want to talk about, politics. Wait a second, I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna finish the part first that I started. So it was heartwarming at the beginning, as I said, and it became this really dark, like, with really dark humor. Like, it has humor, but it is really dark humor. And the thing is, I realized how much I enjoyed to like destroy my characters. Like, not literally, but like putting them in awful situations and them trying to deal with the situations in a positive, good way. Like, that doesn't mean that they're positive the whole time, not at all. They're really pissed a lot of times, actually, but that they start to find a solution to the whole situation. But this other character keeps and keeps going, saying awful things, so it's really hard for them. And yeah, it's like, I don't know if this is a good idea to write the story, because I feel like no other story at the moment feels like such a need to write. And it's not a need where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna change the world with that. No, I don't think so. It's just that I think, like, oh, like, um I want to write about this. I want to know more situations. I'm interested what is happening again. You know, like, what awful things could she say again that my characters are argumenting against? Basically, this is the whole thing. The whole time my characters are defending themselves, because everyone has to defend himself, because she's like, she thinks the whole time she's in the right, and everything she says is the most precious thing ever, even though it's not fucking true. And yeah, it's just fun, and I feel like a sadistic weirdo, you know. But yeah, what I wanted to say else, so politics. So this is a hard topic because I think, like, I saw some videos on YouTube where people were like, "Oh, we don't need politics and anime um, because anime should be more like escapism from reality." And I get where this comes from because of this forcement with woke agendas on characters, especially in Western comics. Like, it feels forced, you know. It doesn't feel like, oh, we really want to do that. It's just we have to do this. And this is the problem. Like, I don't think politics itself is the problem, but I think every artist should decide on their own if they want to do it or not. So if you are not interested in politics to put this in your story, then don't do this. And just write whatever you want to write about, because the heart comes through, you know? And this is the most important thing. And I think it's disgusting to say, like, oh, it is not political, it doesn't have so much value, you know? Like, that's not true. Like, just write a story that you enjoy, and people will read that then. Like, they will feel the enjoyment as well if you're really into your story, if you don't give up, whatever. But I don't think that anime is not allowed to be political at all. And this is like the thing where kind of, like, I understand the term, like, it's a thing to escape from reality. I get that in a way. You know, for me, I this is what I enjoy about anime as well. You can dive into other worlds. You don't, like, they have also struggles, but totally different one. They are fighting the villains, and they win and everything. And that's cool. Like, that's really, really cool. And it's also nice because our world at the moment is so fucking toxic. Like, okay, social media is actually more toxic than the real world. Like, this is the difference. If you're too much on social media, you really get the feeling that every person in the world is awful when it's actually not true. Um, but yeah, anime is kind of a way to just chill down and, like, consume something totally different. You know, like, I get that. I get why people are saying this, but I don't think it's actually totally true, because there are animes who are political. They just are good in the writing they're doing, and they're not forcing something into the story that don't fit the story, that artists actually don't want to write about. For example, Attack on Titan is political. Like, you know, like, it is not like it doesn't dive too deep into it, but I think it still dives a lot deeper than other shows in it. And as I said, that doesn't make it better in that term, oh, it's political, so it's better. No, it's not because of that. It's because of, but it's because it has an interesting, compelling story, you know, and it just happens that there are politics around. What fits the story really well. And I don't know, like, it's just interesting to see how the characters act, how they influence each other, and how, like, certain political moves, strategic moves are involved, and how people act about a certain system in a society, and how different the characters react to it, especially. That's really interesting. And this is just one of, I think there are other examples as well. Hell, even Naruto has a little bit of politics, you know? I know it's Naruto, but I mean, I don't. Naruto is somewhere in my heart. I did not watch the whole show though, but it still it still has something like this. Um, and I don't think it's a bad thing. The only bad thing where I totally agree with is, like, it really, when it comes to politics, it really depends how it's handled. You know, if the author is trying to force their political opinion into your head, that's not a good thing to do. But I don't know, like if he just wants to reflect from kind of an objective perspective, how certain situations could be created and how they involve like how they influence, what an impact they have on the different characters, I think that can be really interesting. And the thing is, the problem I have, and I can totally agree with everyone else, because this is like also a topic, is like political correctness. Yeah, anime shouldn't be political correct. Like, this would be the kill of creativity. You know, like people talk about safe space and everything, but safe space is destroying creative space. You know, and that's awful, and that shouldn't be the case. And yeah, this is like we can, like when people think something has to be, a show has to be political correct, I think they assume that we can't differ between anime, fictional things, and real life, and that's not true. Of course, there are always exceptions, but has nothing to do with anime. That is more personal. There are other triggers that have to do influence the person in a bad way in real life, and anime is just something that helps, like gives the person the chance to dive in from all those problems away, you know, like, and I'm talking about now hardcore, like really people who can't, I don't know, I never met such a person, and I don't think there are not a lot of people in this world who are like this, but I'm pretty sure there exist people who don't, like, who, yeah, who can't differentiate, I'm sorry, who can't make a difference between fictional stuff and real life. But as I said, I think this is then it's a psychic problem, and not, it has nothing to do with anime itself. Yeah, and I also like, and this is the thing, like I'm questioning myself, should I make those jokes about the social justice warrior, or is this already political and people don't want to read it? Because at the moment I'm including a social justice warrior, it gets kind of political, of course. But my characters, they're always like, the thing is, she is interpreting stuff in like in normal things when nobody gives a fuck, and then she comes up with all those issues, you know, and that's the joke about it, because the characters are always confused. There's even a scene where she gets personally offended because somebody briefs. I don't know the actual joke at the moment, but yeah, like he's like, what the fuck is going on? I'm just breathing, whatever. You know, and I'm like, at the one hand, I'm like, I don't know, this is, maybe people will not be interested in this, or people will get more offended by this because those social justice warriors, maybe not as weird as I'm creating the character in my story, but they exist. And they will get offended by it probably. Because yeah, they're really there's like the stuff my characters are saying are not provoking, but not the problem, but the thing is, because she's taking everything out of context, she represents them in another way, even though that's not true. Like the other characters, like she positions them she adds roles to them, and saying stuff about them like, you are like this and this, and you are so disgusting, and blah blah, you know, like whatever. And I think those people who are like her will not get the whole thing. They would just take everything out of context as this character, and will say, well, she's in the right and they are all wrong, you know, like, yeah. Even though I try to explain some stuff, but there's also a limit where you are like, you shouldn't explain everything because there are smart people in this world and you should concentrate on them and not just on the dummies, you know. Um, yeah. So that was everything, I guess. Ah, and one other thing. I think if your story happens to be political, I think that's fine. Um, because when you want to do it, like when it's your own choice, then it's totally fine. When this is where your creativity flows, that's totally fine. And as long as you have the ability to still be objective and don't be like too subjective about this whole topic, then I think go for it. Because it is also limiting creativity if you're saying strictly no to certain stuff. I mean, it depends. Like there's certain stuff where I'll also say, like, I don't want to do this. It doesn't fit the story. And artists work different. And it's cool when some people say, like, I don't want to throw in any politics because I don't want to offend people or something. Even though I think you shouldn't think too much about offending people because that can harm your creativity as well, you know. So yeah, I think people should do whatever they want. And I actually think that manga is a good medium for this, for creativity in general, because like so many manga artists paved the way, that they came up with such weird, interesting, fascinating, ridiculous things and just amazing stuff that I feel like I can do a lot of stuff, you know? I feel like there will always be someone who will be interested in this because there's so much crazy stuff going on. And we hardly have this in any other entertainment industry, you know? And it's more than just entertainment. I know it is. I know that it's art as well. Um, but yeah, that was everything I wanted to talk about. It became a really long video. But yeah, I think that's okay. Sorry, by the way. No, actually no. Like this video comes, I think, punctual. I hope so. But the video last week came 1 week too late. I'm sorry, I did not have the time to upload it. I was too busy, but yeah, I'm gonna try to stay to my schedule. So yeah, that was everything. Goodbye.